Hello and welcome to Makers Dev episode number 63. Chris, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and there's 2 hosts of this show.
Hey.
Makers Dev, hey. How's it going? What are you up to?
It's going pretty well, except before the show we had technology trouble again, and so you're hearing this on my MacBook mic instead of my actual mic, so we'll see how this sounds. Sometimes I really don't like technology. It's like USB-C has 3 different types of cables, at least. Mm-hmm. Do you know that?
Yeah, I've seen the graph before. It's like Thunderbolt and then Thunderbolt 3 and the different data transfer or something. It's a mess.
Yeah. So anyway, I think what happened is this box went bad, the 2x2, or I guess it's a 1x1. So I guess I'll get another one and see if that fixes it. But yeah, anyway, other than that, I had a pretty good week. I got my last ML homework turned in before the test. So the test is in 2 weeks. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Like, it's fully open note, and everything on the test is supposed to have been covered in class or in the homework, and I took really good notes, and so I just feel really good about that. So I have some time, and I was kind of thinking about what to do with the time. So one thing we can talk about is Microconf is in a month and a half. And I like to have had done some SaaS stuff just before Microconf all the time, because you have really good conversations usually if you have just had some progress. Like, if it's fresh in your mind, you can talk more about that, and people latch onto things that you just did. And I've had really good conversations in the past with that. But I also know I go like in these months-long cycles where I'm interested in one thing or another, and recently it's been all data stuff. And I've been really interested in these data competitions, of which I'm now in like 3 or 4. Yeah, so I don't know where I'm going to end up, but, something to talk about or think about is, something to talk about or think about. So, yeah. How about you?
That's also something I feel the cyclical pressure from Microconf to like get some stuff to have something to talk about. Because if you're like, I think this last Microconf that I was in Microconf Europe, the conversations I was having were kind of like, well, here's the position I'm in, and then people would be like, you should do this, and I was like, I know that.
Yeah,
I've known that for a year, and I don't want to. And they were like, well, why don't you want to? And I was like, I don't know. And it's the conversations can be much more useful if you've like pushed to the point where you've done everything you can do, and you're looking for some direction or some like interesting angle to take on it, of like, growth is really stalled, and I've tried these marketing channels. And then if that's the conversation you're having over and over, you're talking to people who are in this arena who can say like, well, have you thought about this other marketing channel? And if you get 2 people saying that out of whatever 10 conversations you have, it can become very clarifying, and it can define your next 6 or 12 months of work. But yeah, like you, I think I get so distracted by other things. There are so many cool things to work on in the world that it's sometimes I hit Microconf not needing that direction, and it can still be fun to like chat with people, and especially at Microconf Starter, if you're having people who like have these fundamental questions of like, I don't know how to charge people money on the internet, and I'm charging them $1 a month. Then you can say, you should charge more. And they're like, charge more? How could I possibly?
Right.
It's really fun to be like the first person to introduce people to those concepts. But yeah, to get the most out of it individually, I feel like it'd be good to spend the next 40 days as of recording this really jamming on SaaS stuff to get to the point where we've caught up with the clear advice that we have. It's not obvious what the next step forward is. So yeah, let's buckle down and do it. What are your next 40 days going to look like? What are you doing?
A couple Kaggle contests, which is not SaaS at all.
Hold on. That's the opposite of what we just said. What SaaS stuff are you doing in the next 40 days?
Yeah, so there's 2 things. One is there are several meeting place things that I want to get done, actually. A few of the bigger groups have requested a couple things that should be relatively straightforward, and I know would make them happier. And yeah, I need to figure out what I'm doing with Meeting Place, because I just kind of been sitting on it for a while, and I would like to either push it forward like a lot so that it's really good, like, so that it can be what I wanted it to be for those groups, or what? I don't know. I mean, I could try to sell it or something. I don't know that I want to do that. So yeah, I got to figure out what I want to do with Meeting Place. And then the other one is Acorn Chat. I would really like to get that in the Slack App Store before Microconf. So that is a goal I had before, but yeah, I still want to do that. At the same time, I have these competitions, which I'm really enjoying. And so I'm about to start another one. So maybe instead of starting another one, I should do some SaaS stuff. And so I can finish the one competition I'm still in, but then do some SaaS stuff instead. Yeah, I got to think about that.
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat. I have so many fun projects I'd rather be working on, and it's really hard to push forward this monolith that, like, I know I should be working on that would be good in this long-term goal. But oh man, the ADHD tendency is like there's now and there's not now, and Microconf that's 40 days away. That's not now.
Yep.
Right now, I have this shiny new Flashcard app that I want to be making, but. Yeah, it's a negotiation, I think. Like, I know rationally that File Inbox is the thing to be spending time and money and focus on, and I don't want to sometimes. But once I get into it, it's like, ooh, this is fun. Here's a fun little micro thing I can do with figuring out how to integrate Stripe with Firebase. That was a great project that I just felt like on fire and focused, and for a week, that was just all I was thinking about. And I had dreams about, like, I could do this clever thing to it and make this thing flow even better. And then that was done, and I found myself in this position of like, okay, I can like decide what to do next. And then I stalled, and my attention refragmented, and I started working on other things. So, for me, the thing I want to focus on this next week on File Inbox is I want a self-contained, functional product, and I want it to just be minimally functional, and it doesn't necessarily have to map one-to-one with what the current File Inbox does. But I want you to be able to sign up for an account. I want you to be able to enter your credit card and have a plan, which, like, that's already done. I just need to, like, plug that in. That's not a big project. I want you to be able to create file upload pages. I want you to be able to send that link to people, and then they can upload files to you. And then I want you to be able to download those files. So those files are going to be organized then in some web interface of, like, per session. And then I want you to be able to download the files from the web interface zipped. And that's going to be a novel problem. That's a new thing I got to figure out. But I think I know how I'm going to do it. I think the standard way of doing that is just, I thought this was horrifying at first, but, like, this makes sense. I think you just take a list of files that you have URL access to. You have a cloud function download all of them into a folder, and then you zip them, and then you upload the zip file, and then you, on the client, download that zip file. I think that's how to do it. Is there something I'm missing? Is there like a streaming way to do it that I'm being dumb?
So I don't know. I worry about bandwidth costs if you do it that way. Do you have bandwidth costs?
It's all in Google Cloud.
So there's no bandwidth costs?
Between Cloud Functions and Google Cloud Storage, there's no bandwidth costs.
Okay.
So, like, downloading the files and then re-uploading the files, I think is going to be free because it's all going to be, like, in the same data center, and it's surprisingly fast. And then, but then download. So once it's re-uploaded, the client downloading it, that bandwidth is going to be charged.
Right.
But then that's the zipped thing, and that's only happening once.
Okay. And then the other thing I thought of is I know that web servers like Nginx and Apache gzip files on the way to the client. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a way to do that, like stream, like compress a file during sending, because they do it. But I don't know at all how they do it. Or
I think that's probably just done ahead of time, though. Like if you have a bunch of static assets, or if you're maybe, I imagine, or caching also. Like I imagine what you're doing there's just like you generate the file and then you generate the gzip file of it, and then you serve the gzipped file, and then if someone gets the same thing. But I don't think it's streaming. Like the thing I'm wondering, I know something you can do with like a tar ball. I don't know if that's a technical term. Or just, if you have a tar, you can like append files to the tar. You don't have to do it all at once. Right. So I think with a tar you could like stream the file in and never keep it on disk, and so you might be able to get some speed advantage of like you don't have to download all the files all at once and then wait for all the files to be compressed. You can like get the files, and as you're getting them, you can compress them into the tar and then do the tar. But I don't think you can do that with a zip, and also I don't think it would be worth the speed improvement because I'm just making things happen slightly overlapped.
Right.
And I'll probably get the same benefit by just downloading files at the same time.
Yeah, this is probably a case where if you know how to do it, then just do it that way. And
Okay.
if there's problems later, then you can address them later.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Done. I don't want to do premature optimization. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Okay. I really want to put my feet to the fire. Like, Microconf's in 40 days from the time of this recording. I want to have implemented all of the obvious things that I know are the right thing to do on File Inbox, so that I can have some problem, a novel problem to present of like, I don't know what to do next.
How long do you think it'll take you to do what you just said?
That I want to happen this week.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like all those pieces are in place. The only novel part of that is motivating for me because it's like a fun technical problem is the zip problem.
Right.
But all the other parts of that just feel like I could do that in an afternoon. So that feels like a really reasonable goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen, or what's your prediction?
Yes, Chris. Yes, it's going to happen. Who do you think I am? Someone who makes promises of things I'm going to do and then doesn't do them.
Never said
Yeah,
that.
no. I the difficult part is getting started, and so like, I think if I'm what I really need is like built into my daily routine, like a more solid trigger of like, this is the time in my day when I work on File Inbox. And yes, I know I have more exciting, fun things to work on, but working on those things has to happen after, I don't know, 5 o'clock. Yeah, that's the rule. We'll try that rule. I can't work on anything fun. Well, I don't like that.
Yeah.
File Inbox is fun. I can't work on things that aren't either administrative tasks or File Inbox before 5 p.m. And I do want to be working before 5 p.m. And I want to get, I don't know, some minimum number of Pomodoros done before 5 p.m. So like, maybe it's Pomodoros instead of 5 p.m. Maybe, okay, how about this? I have to work for 4 Pomodoros on either administrative or File Inbox tasks, and then I can work on whatever I want.
Okay. Would it be helpful if you don't have to say yes or no now? What I've heard about, these kind of groups you can join where you get on a call and you turn off your video and then you work while the other person's working.
Yeah.
Would it be helpful if we every day this week for half an hour got on a call and I could do SaaS stuff while you did File Inbox stuff?
Those historically for me have not worked well, and I'm down to try it again. Let's try it.
Okay.
Because I can justify that to myself like, well, this might be helping Chris, and you know what? That would probably also help me. Yeah, cool. So for 2 hours a day, and we'll schedule it. We're gonna work on SaaS stuff. Man, looking at my calendar, that's actually gonna be kind of difficult to schedule.
That's why it's good to schedule, I guess, right?
I know.
We can do this.
Okay, so yeah, we'll do it off the call. Wednesday in particular is going to be tricky because there's a lot of calls happening that day. But we'll figure it out. Every other day, I think is gonna work just fine. Cool. All right. For those 2 hours a day, what are you going to be working on with Acorn Chat and a meeting place?
Good question. I have some meeting place stuff to do right away, so I will do that the first day, and then I'll see how far I get. I think that's my plan.
Okay. You have your whole plan that we mapped out of how to get Acorn Chat in the Slack App Store. Do we still have that top of mind? Does that feel like it's easy? What the next thing to do is?
Yeah, if the meeting place stuff only takes a day, which it probably will, then I think Slack App Store stuff will probably take the rest of the week. So I think that sounds about right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I guess today's the first day then. So we'll. I have a appointment with an allergist from like 2 hours from now to 3 hours from now. But then after that we can. I don't know. Are you free like 5 p.m. Or 4th? Hold on. You're in Eastern time zone.
I'm in Eastern time, and after 5 is hard because that's kid time.
Oh, you're right. Okay, we'll start tomorrow then.
We can start.
I'm going to start today.
Okay.
I'm going to get my 2 hours of stuff done today.
I can log in and get you started for 5 minutes. Would it help if we logged in at the same time for 5 minutes?
No, I don't think
All right.
so.
I'll send you a Twitter message. What time do you want to send me?
Okay, that's good. That's good. At 5 p.m. Central, which is 6 p.m. Eastern.
All right.
That's when we're gonna. You know what? Actually, the most helpful part of this might be just blocking this out on my calendar. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. All right, cool. Cool. You are doing Meeting Place. It's straightforward what you're going to do on that. After this call, we're going to schedule that same block of time for the rest of the week. And I've got my file inbox thing to do. Cool. Okay, that all feels good. Do you want to talk about your more distracting projects of the data analysis stuff?
Yeah, so the snow water equivalent competition that ended, or not ended, that switched to the evaluation phase, a week ago. And so that means every week now until July, I have to submit predictions for like the next week, given the data that comes in from the previous week. And they were supposed to have updated the leaderboard today, but they haven't, which means I have no idea how I'm doing. Once the first like leaderboard update comes in, I will find out how I'm doing. There's only 30 teams like in the finals, and there's 5 prizes, so that sounds like pretty good odds. But I also joined pretty late, and so I wasn't able to like use all the data. But I'm hoping like a lot of other teams joined late and also weren't able to use all the data. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It may be like the first thing comes in and I'm in the bottom half, and then I just write it off because everyone else was able to do it the proper way. Yeah, so that's the one that just finished. And then there's one that finishes in about 4 weeks, which is the essay one. So I'm still doing that one. And I may join a team. We're trying to figure out if it's a good idea for us to join. And if so, that'll be interesting because it's always interesting to join teams because you get to see what other people are doing. So, yeah, so those are the 2 that I'm currently like actively working on. And then there's a few others that are interesting, but I haven't started yet.
Cool. I remember the last time you joined a team, it was a positive experience. I think it was with students in China or something.
Japan, yeah.
Japan. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The team I'm going to join, I think one is in India, one is in somewhere in Eastern Europe, and the other one is working at Hugging Face, I think, which is a really big company in the ML space. And so it'd be a really interesting team to join. So hopefully it works out.
Have fun. And amazing also, like, I think I said this last time you joined the team, but the fact that all of you could network and get together to solve such a complicated, abstract puzzle. Like, I feel like I'm in a sci-fi novel. This is so cool. That you could solve such a abstract, complicated problem as identify the parts of the functional parts of an essay, just given the words. Like, amazing. So cool. And I am excited to be living in the reality that we're living in. It's a cool time to be alive.
Yeah, me too.
I think I would encourage you not to join new competitions or something that I think helps me is like having a fun thing that I'm working on. That's the thing that I want to be working on. Like the idea that I have to work on 4 Pomodoros of the work that I have to work on so that I can work on the fun stuff. I think that's more motivating than if there was no fun stuff. I think that would just feel like demoralizing. So maybe these competitions are that carrot for you. Maybe it's after you've worked on SaaS stuff, you can work on the fun competitions. How are you viewing that?
Yeah, it could be. And like SaaS stuff, like you said, like SaaS stuff is fun too. It's just harder. I don't know why it's harder to motivate myself to work on it. It's probably because the rewards are much further in the future. Like the work I do on SaaS now will pay dividends in like a year or 2, whereas the data competitions are only a couple months long, and you can improve rapidly in like a day. You can go from not understanding the data at all to like in the top half of the competition like in a day. So you
get that immediate score, the feedback of exactly how well you're doing. And yeah, we talked about that with Jesse Anderson, that the ADHD parts of us really crave that objective, like a leaderboard or like a score. Like, here's how well you're doing. Yeah, it feels good. I have a direct analog for that in my life, which is my continual battle with the Tesla safe driving score.
Yes.
2 days after I spoke to you and was like, here we go. I'm going to get my hundo. It's going to be great. I had one instance of a proximity warning of the car in front of me. And my heart just sank because, like, I've been driving for 100 miles perfectly at a perfect 100. And it's this one stretch of road, like a mile from me. As I was driving back from the grocery store, like, and I remember thinking, like, should I get grocery deliveries because that would minimize that? No, it doesn't. No, I'll be fine. I can drive well. And I got that, and I was just like, oh no. Oh, but wait, I remembered I could reset the computer by holding both of the wheels on both of the scroll wheels on the steering wheel, and that might make it forget that there was a proximity warning. So I did that, and the screen went dark for like 2 minutes, and I was like, man, that was dumb. What if my whole car shuts off? And
that sounds way less safe.
It was. I've been doing some stuff to get the score, but anyway, so it comes back on, and I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be fine. And I get back home, and I check my score, and it went from 100 to a 96. And I was like, oh, no. So I did some algebra to figure out, like, how many more miles would I have to do to make up for the 96 versus if I just start from scratch. And I think it's just a weighted average of, like, if you have, 50 miles at 100 and 25 miles at a 95, you just do it's a weighted average. And it turned out I needed to drive like 180 miles or something to make up for it. So I was like, I'll do it again. So I reset it, and the next day drove like 40 miles perfectly. Got 100. Oh, it was so nice. Next day, same thing, 40 miles, 100. Oh, it was great. The next day was a really long drive, hundreds of miles, and I got one hard braking, and it was like a 96 or 97. And it only dropped my score from 100 to a 98, which, like, I think is still in the range, so it was fine. And I was over 100 miles, so I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm good. And I was expecting, like, do I, like, get a phone call from Elon Musk? Is there, like, a notification on my phone that says, yes, you did it, you're a good driver? And I checked on my car to see if there was an update, and nothing. So since then, I drove another 100 miles at a perfect 100 again. Worst case, I'm just becoming a better driver, I guess. But
yeah, right.
Resentfully. And my score is now at a 99 with hundreds of miles now. I think I've got like 200 or 300 miles logged. And nothing. And don't know what's up with that. But I'm, gosh darn it, going to win this game because it's a game and there's a score and I can beat other people and I can get access to a cool thing. So golly gee, we're going to get there. But it's becoming frustrating. That's my experience with the sort of Kaggle competition leaderboard objective score thing.
Yeah. So it's good that it's making you become a better driver, except like restarting your car in the middle of driving sounds awful.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot actually of Kaggle, because in Kaggle you have to be the people who create the competitions have to be really, really careful about what the objective is, because people will solve for whatever objective you give them exactly.
Yep.
And they will find whatever weird loopholes there are to solve for that exact objective. And it sounds like you did the same thing with the self-driving. So, yeah.
I'm reminded of the legend of a djinn or a genie or a demon where, like, you can... It's this entity where you can wish for whatever you want, and they'll follow your instructions exactly. Oh, sure. Fairies also, like if you have a contract with a fairy in mythical lore, and, so it'll be a thing like, I... want I want a child because I need a child, and they'll be like, all right, we'll follow you exactly what you want, you get a child, and then it's like, it's a child who's asleep all the time because you didn't specify you wanted it to be awake. Feels like the same sort of thing, like the framing of constructing the problem and how you ask the question is as difficult as more difficult than finding the answer. It's like also Douglas Adams 42, that like you didn't ask the right question to the supercomputer of what the meaning of life, the universe, and everything is. So you get a silly answer. Yeah.
Have you seen the subreddit, the monkey paw?
No.
So people say what their wishes are to the monkey paw, and then people respond with what the monkey paw did for you, which is exactly like that. Like, it's like, I want a child, and it's like, yeah, you get a child that is, whatever, I don't know, a monkey child or something.
Yeah,
but yeah,
to learn how to just like precisely ask for exactly what you want. That's fun. I'm gonna look at that subreddit later. I have an exciting update. So for all the talk that we've been doing about you learning mathematics and writing articles for and that'll eventually turn into videos, I started taking the advice that I was giving you of, like, for everything that I was Googling, I made a new blog post for it. And over the course of just this last week, I made 5 articles of different categories of things, and
Awesome.
I started putting into it like, here's a thing that I've Googled 5 times, that now the next time I Google it, I can check my article for it first, and if it's not there, then I go find the answer, and I phrase the question as the heading, and then I put the answer below it. So I have ones now for Firebase, Ruby, SQLite, Git, and Paramotoring, which is another thing I want to talk about. But I love that practice of, it's like my own personal Google log. After I've gone off and looked for the answer and found it, I bring it back, and now I have my nice little tidy bundle of questions and answers for me personally that will probably also help a lot of other people. So I like that practice.
Yeah, cool. That's really good. I have an update on that too, which is I've figured out how to record my iPad screen. Turns out it's really easy. You
Nice.
plug it into your computer, and ScreenFlow records your iPad screen for you.
That's remarkable. How does that work?
So I looked at some user forums because it wasn't working at first, and I had to figure out that's how I figured out there's many types of USB-C cables because I had the wrong type plugged in. But it uses, I guess, an API that Apple exposes. They said like test it with QuickTime first because that uses the same API, and that's like an Apple product. So yeah, it's just an API, and so any program now can record an iPhone or iPad screen that's plugged in, which is pretty neat. But in doing that, I outlined some things that I want to, teach, and I realized my writing is awful, and plugging in an iPad was a terrible idea. So, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I'm glad you figured that out just by using ScreenFlow instead of like making your own app to move it over. Yeah, okay. What makes your writing awful? Why do you think it's awful?
I don't know. It's just unreadable. It's unless I really, really focus. So maybe so I can make it nice if I really, really focus. But if I'm trying to talk and write at the same time, I just can't do those two things at the same time, like talk and write and teach. So yeah, that's one reason I was interested in like the pre-done videos, like in the 3 blue 1 brown style. Yeah. Because then I can narrate and I can not have to write anything, like it's all pre-rendered. So I might still do some of that, but yeah.
That's interesting. I'm curious. So like the 3 blue 1 brown, that's super high production value. It seems like he just puts tens and tens of hours of work into each video.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that high production, but yeah.
Okay. I'm curious what a low effort, reasonable quality way for you to teach this would be. I'm reminded of like Fireship is this like Rails cached like or Egghead like site that has videos specifically for serverless Firebase stuff, and I love it. I've watched almost all of his videos. And his method of narrating code specifically is he'll write out all his code and edit it and make it look good. And then he'll go back and delete segments of it recursively back in time. And then he'll hit record, and he'll just hit undo on all his deletes. So like blocks of code appear in chunks that make sense with the story he's trying to tell. And I'm wondering if you could do something like that, but written notes. So like you spend as much time as you want writing out your notes, you make them all nice. You can devote your entire attention to just writing out the notes, and then you erase chunks of them at a time that make sense, or just go based on the pre-written notes. But I'm hunting for something like that would be like a reasonable, low effort and but reasonable quality.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, at a certain point, it kind of becomes like a PowerPoint presentation then that I'm just, which I kind of wanted to avoid, but yeah, there might be something there. Funny enough, I can type and talk at the same time, no problem. Like when I'm doing Egghead videos, I type and talk at the same time.
Could you type LaTeX?
Oh, probably not.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, that might be rough.
Could you do LaTeX and then maybe do the Fireship strategy of like you're recursively undoing?
So maybe, yeah. A lot of the stuff I want to show is graphs, though, which are like graphing stuff takes time. And that's why I wanted to draw out the graphs. I could maybe like type everything, but draw the graphs. That's possible, maybe.
What I'm hunting for is just like, do this badly. I would love to see your bad one of...
the bad version is a blog post, I think. That's the easy version. Yeah. Okay. So maybe I do that. Blog post.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Ship it. Do it. I'm sort of torn right now on that. I have these articles that are like fragments of things. Like my one on Ruby is a single question on Ruby. I think it was the thing we talked about last week of the order of parameters in inject. And that feels kind of silly to publish that, but I think I do want to publish it, maybe just with a thing on top that's like, hey, this is a draft. That's what Shai Schechter does on his blog. He'll have posts that are saying like, hey, this was automatically dictated. This isn't a polished thing. But I think I'd rather have it out there than not. So I think I'm just going to publish all those, maybe with a thing on top saying it's a draft.
Yeah, so something you could do, you don't even have to say it's a draft. You could do, you could publish it, but not post it like as a big blog post or anything. But as long as you include it in a sitemap somewhere, then Google will find it anyway.
Yeah.
And people, when they're searching for stuff like the order of things, they don't want a big long blog post. Like I go to these Python things like recently all the time, and it's like this big long blog post, and I'm like, I just want the one line of code.
Yeah.
So if I found a blog post that was just the one line of code, I'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just publish the thing and then put it in a sitemap somewhere. I think it's fine.
The structure of these things, I agree, it would be better to have smaller chunks, to have like, each Ruby question is its own blog post. But I don't want to do that because I want to do this for a bunch of different categories of things, and I want to just keep adding to my list of the thing. And I think the way it would show up on Google, because Google can jump to just like a section, and I have all my headings with anchor tags. So I think if someone were Googling this and something that I'd written popped up, they'd be able to click on that and jump right to the one section of that post. And then they're on a page of a bunch of other Ruby or Firebase or SQLite stuff. So they might also want to look at the other stuff on that. That's not unreasonable that they would want the other stuff on that page. But for me, organizing it, because my blog is just like all the things that I'm interested in. It's not any particular thing. I'm going to want to have things as... I'm going to want to have articles like this as different as, SQLite and Paramotoring. So that's the organization that makes the most sense for me. But I agree for SEO, it would make more sense to split it up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, do whatever way it makes it easier for you to get the stuff out there.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the answer. Cool. Speaking of paramotoring, that is happening. I'm sending my training fee in today. That's one of my administrative tasks. And I took my brother-in-law out there. He got to do some kiting. I am like reasonable at kiting now. I was able to take this huge parachute called a wing and launch it. So take it from the ground up to the air and then stabilize it in a reversed kiting position where I'm facing the wing. And then I was able to turn around and start running, which would be like the stage before I actually take off. And then I was able to stop and then turn around again and do some more reverse kiting. And I was able to flip back and forth about 7 times. And my instructor, Mike, said if I could do it 5 times, I'd be ready for the next step. And so I did it 2 more times than that. So it's exciting. This is actually happening. And in the paperwork that they gave me to sign, it says that I need to, like, my contract with them is over 90 days, which I think means after I sign that on the next good weather day, I'm probably going to be flying within 90 days and hopefully much sooner. But I'm taking this very conservatively. This is a dangerous sport if you do it incorrectly. So I'm perfectly happy to just take it as slowly as possible. But like, I'm doing it, dude. I'm gonna fly.
Awesome.
Gosh darn it!
Awesome.
I'm the sort of person who will persistently pursue attaining a goal until I get it. Like with my Tesla safe driving score, and I am gonna do it with paramotoring. I will be up in the air eminently. So there's an update on that.
Cool. Yeah, that's super cool. Probably even just flying a giant kite is probably interesting enough. Like I don't know. I imagine it's pretty neat just flying the sail or the wing.
It is super fun, yeah. And you kind of get lifted off the ground a little bit, and it's this huge thing. So it's fun to like, and you just got these little strings that are connected to it. that are how you're controlling it. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a fun thing. What else? This is the project that's distracting me. This is my version of your data analysis things, because it's like a worthwhile project and it's useful and it's fun, but I should be working on SaaS stuff instead. And it's something I talked about last week, this idea for a flashcard app to replace Anki. I bought a domain name, pico.cards. Always a good step to buy a domain name. You made a face when I said pico.cards. What's your feeling on that domain name?
I think it's fine. I didn't know cards was a TLD, and so yeah. But there's like a million of them now, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I was also surprised. Tiny Cards was a offshoot project from Duolingo that they abandoned. I think I talked about this last time, but they use the same TLD. So, and then Tiny, what are synonyms for Tiny? Well, there's Micro and Nano and Pico, so Pico Cards. And I was able to recover my old Anki decks. It was like 1,000 cards of different things that I wanted to remember, including my friend's passport number. And like friends and family's birthdays and things. So I have all that now, and I figured out the format for an Anki deck when you export it. It's a zipped SQLite directory. So and then any other media you have is just in a folder there. So if I unzip it, I get a folder that's a SQLite database and a bunch of files. So I'm thinking what I'd like to do is to eventually be able to just drag and drop Anki decks into Pico Cards and have it uncompress it and format it in the format for the cards.
Yeah.
Problem I'm doing right now is how to map the spaced repetition algorithm into something that wouldn't make sense for Firebase. I think I've wrapped my head around how SRS works, the spaced repetition system. The input you get, it's basically just one function where the input is what are the current variables of this card? And there's only two that I really care about. It's like how long until the next time to review it. Excuse me. How long until the next time to review it, and like how easy was this card? And then given those two pieces of information and whether or not I got the card this time, I need to say what are the new values for those two stored variables. And I think I understand, but I couldn't explain it to you right now what that function is. But I think just based on that, I'll be able to update the Firebase record and then just have like a date time and then sort the cards by date time. And that's going to determine when I see the next card. So that's work I'm going to do after I do my 4 hours of work on either administrative or file inbox tasks.
All right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, like I said last time, it sounds like a really interesting thing. I think it'll help you, might help some other people. I don't expect it's like every other developer who builds their own to-do list app, you know?
Yep.
But that's fine. You know, I think it's a neat thing. So
cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I need to. I'm resigned to understanding that like no one else would want to use this. That it won't be a good business. I think making a flashcard type of thing is really hard to do profitably. So yeah, this is just the thing for me.
Yeah, I just thought, so like I said last time, the real way to make profit off of it is to write a book about it.
Yeah, which I love. That's such a good idea.
But I also just thought, so if you wanted to, I don't think you should, but if you wanted to, there are ways to make money. I think if you niche down or you make it something really specific. So it's not like a flashcard app to learn anything. It's like you have these pre-made decks to learn whatever. I mean, maybe Firebase is a good one. I don't know. I'm even thinking about like there's corporate things that are like, you know, you have to learn these, you know, HIPAA rules or whatever.
Yeah.
But that gets into the whole corporate training world, which you don't want to be in, I imagine. So, yeah.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, if you niche down, because there's paid Anki decks that for things like exam review. So, like if you're studying for the bar or if you're studying for step exams for being a doctor, That's like the core use case that people use Anki for. But right now there's this very nice, good open source community around it where people just like publish a lot of these things for free. But yeah, that would be a really good angle if there's something that people get paid for to remember, and I can just make a platform that's like, hey, this is brain dead simple. All my marketing is geared towards you, and like all my my home landing page is all about like how difficult it is to learn and remember things and how complicated it is. So here's my platform for you. It's, you know, I teach you the thing, and then I have built into this teaching platform the spaced repetition so you can actually remember it. That's a very interesting idea.
So what you could do, again, I don't know that you should, but if you're the platform, then you get creators to create the decks and sell them. So you have Stripe Connect, so that they come in, they connect their Stripe account, they make their deck, and then they sell it on their site or through Instagram or Twitter or whatever.
Oh, holy shit, Chris. That's actually a problem that I was actually doing some sales safaring on the Anki forum, and one of the top posts that just had so much interactions was a creator of one of these decks asking how he could charge for them. And the whole thread was like either people shitting on him saying like, how dare you ask to charge for this thing that you put a bunch of work into? Don't you know that Anki is supposed to be open source? And the other segment of people was people like, yeah, I also have this problem, and sure would be nice if we could make money, but it's not supported because any deck that you're sharing is it's this open format. It's just a zip file with SQLite database in it, so there's no way to charge for it. Well, there I go. Man, why'd you do this to me?
And then once you get some of them, you make an iPhone app and you have in-app purchases for all of these decks.
Yep.
And then you get a whole bunch of creators that are like, I want to sell my deck to people on iPhone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, man, that's such a good idea. Oh, no, Chris, I have to work on File Inbox. My administrative stuff, I got to do my email. Man, that's a really good idea.
I have this thought a lot, and we're out of time. We can talk about it next time maybe. I have this thought, like, I have really, like, you can have a really, really good idea, but if you're not willing to put in all the time that it takes to take it to completion, then it's actually not a good idea for you. I think this is a really good idea. I don't know if it's a good idea for you.
I'm just gonna keep going forward. All right. I'm just gonna make it for me, and that's an option for the future. If I wanted to, that's the thing I could do. Man, I could have you could embed it in your site, so you could have your own little Shopify store. Yeah. And then if the creator wanted to have this as part of their integrated course, they could say like, hey, we also have this deck that you get for free. That's so now everyone who has a online course could use this. Oh man, because now you just take the stuff from your course and you make flashcards of it, and now that's like a bonus that you can offer to higher tiers on your course. That like you also have access to this deck through Nano cards or Pico cards. I keep wanting to say Nano cards because that's the domain name I wanted originally, but that one was taken. Too many ideas. There's too many cool things to work on. What am I supposed to do with this? No. It's going to work on File Inbox and administrative stuff for at least 4 palms today, and then I can work on fun stuff like this Pico cards thing.
Good idea.
And the first step is just to do it for me. Okay. All right.
Think about it. If you make File Inbox work well enough, then you have the time to take these fun projects and do other things with them later. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are out of time. I need to go, but I have one more thought, which is one of the questions I asked Jordan Peterson, and I want to tail the discussion around the controversy of Jordan Peterson, was asking about neuroticism, which is one of the big 5 personality traits. There's openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And as far as I can tell, this is like the most scientifically validated personality test. Much better than horoscopes, much better than Myers-Briggs. Like you can actually test people, and there have been studies on this, and it's like scientifically validated. Neuroticism is how much you're affected by negative emotion. I'm extremely low in neuroticism. I'm in the 4th percentile, which means if I'm in a room of 100 people, there are only 3 people in that room who are less neurotic than me, who are less sensitive to negative emotion. Sarah, my girlfriend, is in the 80th percentile. If she's in a room of 100 people, there are only 20 people in that room who feel negative emotion more strongly than she does. That is a frequent topic of discussion between us in therapy, because if something happens, we react to it in very different ways. And it's taken us a long time, but I feel like we're at a point now where we understand where the other person's coming from, and we can like find strengths and weaknesses in that. But that was the question I asked him, was like, can you say something good about having high neuroticism? Because like in your course on personality, you say good and bad things about every trait except neuroticism. Neuroticism, you only say that it's bad. And that if you have it really high, that's correlated with personality disorders, and like it's correlated with like depression and just having a generally bad time. And he has said publicly, like if he could buy any personality trait, it would be low neuroticism. And in his answer, one of the things he said was, having high neuroticism is really important for groups. If you're really affected by negative emotion, you're like the one groundhog who looks up and alerts all the other groundhogs that something's wrong. So then they don't need to be as on high alert as you if they know that you're there looking out for them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if your emotion is too positive, that can be bad, because now you're manic, and now just like everything's a good idea, and you're like, let's go to Las Vegas and bet it all because the world is great and everything's wonderful all the time. And that's not always true. Like sometimes it's true. And if that is true, then the people who are very enthusiastic, like they are able to take advantage of that situation. But like unmediated enthusiasm and positivity is mania. That's just as destructive as being depressed. So you need this balance of like you gotta learn how to navigate this and not become completely overwhelmed with every new fun idea that you have. It is useful to have some of that neuroticism in there to like be more self-critical and be like, well, there's other flashcard apps out there. Maybe I don't need to make this one, and maybe I should go back to the file inbox thing. And that's the core problem that I struggle with, because every idea I have is the best idea ever.
Yeah.
It could turn into a giant, flashcard app thing. And some of that I really like, and I think growth for me would look like learning how to mediate that a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do this week, Chris. I'm going to work on file inbox. I'm going to work on administrative stuff. And then, only after 4 palms, will I work on the fun stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. Me too.
Good. All right. That's all I got.
All right. That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.